Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bazil. Welcome to Gigantic Talk, where we talk about the game Gigantic, topics that I feel relevant, and I ramble on for lots of reasons. So let's talk about hype and why it could potentially be a bad thing and kill the game. Let's talk about that. So hype is something that is very well known in the gaming community. It's a word that is used very often. Let's hype the game. People are very hyped about this. And hype essentially means that they're really excited. And sometimes they're blind to certain issues that are very apparent and certain things that really should be fixed before launch or not even implemented into the game. And so with that, I'd like to talk about why hype can potentially be bad for a game like Gigantic. Mainly because they are a small game, they're a brand new IP, and they're doing something very, very different to the genre of 5 versus 5 kind of base trading. There's still no actual title for this game in terms of what it actually classifies under. Everyone says MOBA because that's what everyone usually associates, wow, words are hard, associates these games with, which is really unfair. So I'm still have not been able to come up with a abbreviation for what Gigantic is. But essentially, the hype for this game is really at where it should be right now. It doesn't need to be brought up to the level of, say, Destiny, Titanfall, or Wildstar, or it doesn't need to be brought up to the level of Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS or the Wii or something, because it's a brand new IP. And if people expect way too much out of this game, it will really, really hurt it in the long run. I almost want to say this happened to Smite in a way, because it was a brand new kind of different style of what Dota and League of Legends were, but it was still a MOBA, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I mean, I rode the hype train for a while, and it kind of derailed myself because I was like, yeah, this isn't really what I want it to be. So in terms of making sure that hype stays consistent, I think we're doing a good job. And I also think Motiga is doing a good job. I know a lot of people are saying that, well, myself included, I'll be honest, I want to see more. I want to see more. And right now, they're focusing on making sure that their game gets out of the alpha stage in the correct way that they want to see. They're not doing a lot of presses. They're not doing a lot of kind of coverage for like in-game footage and whatnot, which is completely fine. The gameplay trailers have, I mean, you've seen them 45 times if you watch all my videos, because that's all I have to go off of. And that's actually okay. So I think in terms of where our hype level is in the alpha stage is actually very, very good. Now, would I like to see more content? Absolutely. The September newsletter gave us some really cool stuff to look at. Again, we got to watch the Pax footage. Once again, they're slowly releasing that on their YouTube channel after they've edited it down and made it pretty, which is just fantastic. It's really fun watching that again. And they released a song from Nerdcore, which apparently is a new music genre that's rap but nerdy, which is... Anyway, side tangent. So I feel that examples of super hype trains are very much needed, because I think that if we're all aware and we all understand what too much hype is and why it's bad for the industry, then we might be able to keep Gigantic's hype train on the kind of normal incline, like a 90-degree incline rather than a 175 incline, where it just kind of goes wah, and then you go over the hill and everyone's like, oh, well, this isn't what I was expecting, I quit. So 3 examples I think are really, really, really good. And the first one I'm going to give is Titanfall. I was so excited for this game. I did not end up buying it, thankfully. This game was overhyped to something that I have never seen before. And of course, we'll get to Destiny in a little bit, don't worry. And this game was a lot of fun. It really kind of had that old school Call of Duty Battlefield 2 feel, where it was really, really well polished. The essentially the ground combat was really good, and then you add these giant robots, which was just kind of added an element of fun to it. And there really wasn't anything to the game. It was just Call of Duty with robots, basically. But the game was so overhyped, I never really understood why, not to mention a $250 collector's edition, which had a really cool robot in it. And this kind of goes along the lines of a hype with a quick cash grab. If anytime you see a collector's edition or a backer, anything higher than like $100, generally it's going to be a quick cash grab, and they know that they're using the hype to ride that mountain of cash, and then it falls off, and then they're done with it. Now, a lot of my friends who have Titanfall right now don't really play it anymore, and that's a shame because the game is really fun, but it just didn't live up to the hype, and it was extremely over advertised and overhyped. So that's the first example that you got to be careful with. Any game that's overhyped and has a super high price tag for a collector's edition is generally a quick cash grab. Look at Star Wars: Old Republic Online. That was probably one of the most overhyped MMOs next to Wildstar in the history of MMOs, and that game did not do well. It's doing better now. It's definitely climbing a little bit back up to where it was, but it's still in a lot of bad, I guess, anti-hype right now. I mean, if anyone asks you, oh, you should go free to play, they'll just laugh at you and go, no, because you have to pay to hide your helmet slot and all this other fun crap. So it's an example of those two games being super hyped and just using a quick cash grab. I fell for the Star Wars one because I have a $150 collection box sitting on my desk just collecting dust, and I learned my lesson from that, and I don't buy into the hype train anymore. Destiny is and was and still is the most pre-ordered game in the gaming in the history of the world, of all of us humans. It's the most pre-ordered game in history. It broke all these kinds of records. It basically was hyped to be the second coming of Christ, which was just ridiculous because, it's Bungie. They can't mess up, right? Everyone turned to BioWare and just kind of think about that for a second. Back to Bungie. Now, the game itself, I got to play the beta. My brother owns a one of the Xbox Bone or whatever the hell you call it. No, I am not a console gamer in any stretch of the imagination. And I got to play the beta, and I got to play the live version whenever I went to my parents' house for lunch. We'd do it on Sundays. Pointless information, but that's okay. And I was like, okay, this feels pretty much like Call of Duty or any other first-person game ever created on the console. Like, it literally felt like Halo 3.0. And honestly, I was like, okay, I don't understand the hype for this game whatsoever. I remember asking my brother, so what are you doing? He goes, I'm farming. For what? Loot. You just kind of sit here, let them respawn, then kill them all, then kill yourself and repeat. That's boring. What? I thought this was supposed to be like this awesome game and whatnot. He's like, yeah, that's kind of all you do right now. Okay. And then more information came out about loot caves and just all the stuff just keep coming out of just it not living up to the hype at all. And people were very upset. I mean, you can find it all over the internet. So there's another example of the most overhyped game in the world completely falling on its face and crashing and burning. Now, people still play. They're doing lots of patches to fix the game, but on the initial launch, it was not what it really is supposed to be. And to my knowledge, it's really not that much better now, at least at the release of this video. And that's something that we also have to be careful for, is we cannot make any video game like the second coming of Christ, because let's be honest, when Jesus gets here, it's going to be pretty damn awesome. I mean, he's going to be flying on a cool liger, blowing a trumpet with his angels in the background. I mean, you can't beat that. I mean, Destiny definitely can't outshine that. Come on now. I feel that if we as a community ride the wave like it is now and just let it organically, that's the word I'm looking for, organically climb the hype ladder by itself, then we are in a good spot. And another example of that is Wildstar. Wildstar definitely climbed the hype ladder by itself. Carbine didn't push for any advertising. Carbine didn't push for any like huge media influences. The only thing that they ever did was at PAX. PAX was pretty much the Wildstar event before the launch. and it was everywhere. You saw it on taxis, you saw it on garbage cans, and that was their literally one and only media push for the game itself. And did it help a little bit? Yeah, and I also think it made it too much. I think we climbed the hill a little bit too quickly, and people expected all this stuff to come in at launch. So Wildstar is a case of riding the wave organically and then making a crucial mistake in the very last bit of their PR stances, where they introduce the raids and the hardcore stuff way too much, and it really hurt them in the long run. And the last Nexus report, they said they're going to look at possibly taking 40-mans away, which is kind of a big deal because the game was very hardcore 40-man centric. Like, oh, this is like the old stuff. So there's a third example of hype riding the wave organically, but the company or the community, whoever did it, pushed the look at this game, it's going to be awesome, too quickly to try and get it over that last barrier. So my advice to Motiga and the community is to just let the game ride the wave by itself. Let the community drive the hype. Don't try and push for any big media presence. Don't try and push for really anything. If the game is going to be successful, it's all going to be word of mouth. And I know that actually sounds really stupid in this day and age because, social media is social media. And I'm not saying don't advertise the game. That's clearly, that's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying don't make it sound like Destiny was. Like, this is going to be the best thing ever since sliced bread and the 3D printer. And just say, hey, here's our game. This is what our community is. This is what our game is. If you like it, great. And I think the game will organically become popular as it goes. Smite probably did it the best out of really any game in this MOBA genre. Is they didn't push for a lot of advertising, and when they did, people got upset because it wasn't what they were actually going for. And I found that once they kind of pulled back on the media presence and all the TV ads and whatever else the hell they did, and just did their live streams and interacted with the community, the game has slowly built a following of a ton of people. And you got to give credit to Hi-Rez for realizing that. So that's why hype can be a potential game killer, guys. And I think that, a lot of us are saying, I'm not really hyped for the game, and, I'm really disappointed. That's okay, because you shouldn't be hyped for this game right now. It's in alpha. The game very well could change 180 and be something completely different, because that's what alpha is. It is a test where the developers have a chance to improve or dismantle certain parts of the game that simply do not work. And we need to learn and remember that when companies do an actual alpha test, we just need to be there for them and say, hey, check out this game. This is really cool. Check out these screenshots. Check out this gameplay. The game's still in alpha, so don't expect it until next year. But just be on the lookout for it. And that's really all we really should do as a community right now. We should be like, oh my gosh, best game ever, and freak out, because that doesn't work. That's a false representation of what the game is going to be when people can actually play it, because the only people that are playing it right now are the alpha testers, and they can't say anything. So that's what I wanted to talk about, guys. That's kind of what I wanted to cover. I do apologize for the video coming out late. I did record this Tuesday. I listened to it, and I was like, I wasn't comfortable with how I was presenting my topic. So that's it. That's all, guys. Have a wonderful morning. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, and we'll see you guys later. In car.